Arc Raiders just got some absolutely massive news. We'll go over all the new details, which yes, pertain to a new project and even reset progression mechanic. We'll check out all the background noise, what's happening with the chat censorship for some other games. Additionally, there has also been some changes with the game currently, pertaining to both monetization and even the player count. On top of that, we'll look at some community updates, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up, World Utopia here, back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Arc Raiders. Okay, so first up, if you haven't seen by now, Arc Raiders just published an absolutely massive blog post, and that does pertain to something they're calling the Expedition Project, where they finally have addressed if they're going to be doing resets or how that mechanic is going to work in general. So again, they do go over a ton here. A lot of it's in paragraph format, so I'm actually going to break it down to you to have a little bit more simplification. That way you can understand step by step how this actually does work. So first off here, what exactly is this new Expedition Project? Well, it is a voluntary reset to unlock via projects. That is, once you hit level 20, you can then finish the Expedition Project, which will then be an option to reset your character, and that will be repeatable with completing new Expedition projects each cycle. So essentially, as you can see here, just like other things we have to craft inside of our base, you are now able to craft this thing called an Expedition Project, which is going to be the system to allow you to actually reset and actually do this new mechanic. So what is the timeline looking for that, and how they're going to value your time or meaningful time investment? Well, this is going to be on an 8-week cycle. So weeks 1 through 7, you'll work through multi-stage expedition objectives. Again, they do say it's a meaningful time investment, with week 8 being a finalization window where you can open up for the full week to commit to your reset. If you have missed a window for this reset, your progress rolls forward to the next cycle. So essentially what you're doing here is after you build this Expedition Project, you'll be on a repeating cycle roughly 8 weeks, where again, during that time you can contribute toward and even make progress on this project, or eventually after this large time investment at the start of the 8th week, you'll then have the ability to complete and finalize the project, and it will only remain available during that entire week. So again, on that 8th week there. Now again, if a player doesn't finish this project, their progress will be kept into the next finalization window. So again, if you get to the 8th week, you're not ready, now we hit the 9th week, you won't be able to use the Expedition Project, but your progress on it will be kept for the 16th week. So you'll see it'll just roll over there into that 16th week where you then have the ability to use or utilize that reset system. But don't worry, your progress isn't being wiped on the project overall. They do mention that time might be added as part of updates or even holidays or other events. This will range in scale and reward structure overall. Now, what exactly happens when you do reset your character? So here's what you lose versus what you keep. You're going to lose all of your character levels, your skills, your items, inventory, workshop, and crafting progress capabilities. So again, this is only if you utilize the Expedition Project. A bit obvious here, but what you will keep, obviously your cosmetics that you've earned and purchased, as well as the awards, achievements, rankings, and other metagame and real money entitlements. So anything there that's kind of just hard bound to your character, of course you're going to keep those, they're not taking away those from you. But practically everything else is going to be wiped from your account, essentially the exact same as starting a new account aside from your purchases. The cool thing though, for convenience sake, because you've already been onboarded and done the tutorial gates, you'll be able to skip right past those and get the early features and maps unlocked. So you won't have to redo that or kind of go through all the questing to get those. Those will be done for you right out of the gate. Now you might be asking, why exactly would I even do this? Why would I reset my character voluntarily? Well, there is some benefits and incentives that do come with this. The first one here is a permanent account unlock for each completed expedition. They don't exactly say what those are going to be, but essentially every time you do complete one, you'll get one permanent unlock, and obviously that's going to carry through resets. There's also going to be unique cosmetics per expedition, with collection value and bragging rights, of course. I'm assuming and hopefully assume that these won't be able to be purchased, or there won't be any recolors on the shop. They do mention unique cosmetics here, so I assume that's the case. And yeah, I certainly hope so. They also do mention there's going to be account buffs that smooth progression, quality of life during the next cycle. That way you can catch up and level up quickly for those who didn't reset and have a full decked out stash. They do mention that these account buffs actually can stack, and they'll be consecutive on those completions. So they're going to increase the buff magnitude to a certain cap point, so eventually after a certain amount of time it's not going to keep stacking. They do mention though, for fairness sake, there is no raw power or combat advantage here, and that is over players who don't reset. So essentially it's just allowing you to catch up quicker to those players that didn't reset. Now, what is their philosophy around this? There's been a lot of debate. There's been a lot of people saying that there needs to be reset, or that there needs to be some sort of reset mechanic over or seasonal servers. There's also been people that just don't want to reset at all and they just want to play the game. I do get at least somewhat both approaches there, and I could see how it ties into both parties, especially those who don't play as much, or that just want to pick up a game and be able to play it after a certain amount of time. Well, they actually do go over their philosophy here and why they chose this route. So essentially they did pick a voluntary reset system over a mandatory system. They mentioned the pro of global wipes, of course, is a fresh start for all and an economy reset with short-term parity. However, that does come with some major downsides. They do believe here it doesn't really respect the player's limited time, and it erases progress on a schedule. So Arc wants to have a different approach here where it's an opt-in reset with meaningful rewards that will then engage the player to get a fresh start or regular start runs, while others can progress at their own pace. I actually do think this is mostly the right decision there. I still think eventually, a year plus into the game, they're going to need some sort of mass reset, but I really do like that it's a lot different than other games and how they do reset wipes. I mean, there is a reason why Tarkov picks up and does really well in player count every single time it resets. When you see Tarkov pop off on Twitch streams, it's because of a wipe and a reset. So I would argue that it actually does bring players back. And I'm not sure I'm fully on board with the not respecting player time, but I do understand that overall because people want to put effort in and they want to feel like it's there forever. So I do think this philosophy actually could work, and I actually am on board with this. Especially them trying it, I really do think this could play out very well. And I think that's super cool that you can get cosmetics on your own. But I honestly think over time, eventually people are going to stack up so much, there's not going to be really any incentive to go into a run or into a raid. Eventually you will have so much progress, etc., that I don't see why you would continue going into raids. There's a certain point with extraction shooters where you just kind of max out, at least even your own max out capacity. You don't have to just get a Kappa crate or etc., what you do in Tarkov and other games. But I do like this approach. I think this is nice. This is a nice middle between there. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts overall. Again, as I mentioned, I would assume they need some sort of seasonal server or wipe mechanic eventually. Although I hope they do lean on the seasonal server stuff. That would be kind of cool to see. Moving on from that blog post though, we do have an incident that happened over the last weekend. And that actually happened with EA as well as Black Ops 7. So what happened here? In a Black Ops 7 beta chat, the phrase Arc Raiders was briefly appeared as asterisks, and essentially a lot of people assumed it was being censored. So the cause that's stated by the marketing team was an overzealous text filter rule on that phrase. They do mention that essentially it wasn't a targeted brand ban. Of course, this had no effect on gameplay or installs or store search, of course. They do mention this issue has already been fixed, and it was fixed very quickly. Now, this could be a common beta moderation quirk. To be fair on that end, they usually do go pretty hardcore on the chat censorship during the beta, and then once launch comes out, they kind of loosen it up, although this could be vice versa. Although I will say, I've never seen the word Arc and Raiders ever banned in any chat that I've ever been in. That does include ones with insane chat censorship. Of course, we can only go off the official word here. It does seem very, very odd, though, that this word in particular, or these word combinations, were banned, or at least asterisked. It's been blowing up and kind of had a Streisand effect anyways, and I assume that these companies wouldn't really want that to be the case. I think they know better not to censor something like that. Yeah, super odd there, maybe something that slipped through. They do mention that it was some sort of slur mechanism there. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense because that wouldn't be the case in most forms, but it also could be some sort of moderation quirk. Again, curious on your guys' thoughts on that one too. It is a very odd circumstance. This also did apply, surprisingly, to EA and the Battlefield 6 beta. Maybe they're sharing some moderation stuff there and it just slipped through. Yeah, not 100% sure on that one. Although a bit of a wholesome and nice ending here. Embark Studios did wish EA and DICE a fantastic launch with Battlefield 6 tomorrow. They say many of us at Embark have deep roots in the Battlefield franchise, and they are excited to see it take its next steps. So they're not taking it too hard, and they're just kind of playing into it. In fact, they had a bit of a joke tweet here. but they had a bit of a joke tweet here saying we're still on track to release the Asterix on October 30th, so kind of playing into a bit of the meme there. Speaking of that release, we have 2 new updates here. This first one actually does pertain to regional pricing. So yes, Embark actually did listen to the people and they've adjusted the regional prices. Now this didn't apply to every single region, but a lot of them did get adjusted regional pricing there. So pretty massive and pretty cool to see. I know a lot of people are very happy about that, especially what looks like the Brazilian players, as Arc Raiders went from top 150 to top 20 in Brazil after the price changes. So absolutely awesome to see for that region, and I'm sure they're very happy with it as well. We also had this update here pertaining to the GeForce RTX 50 series, where they actually do have a bundle that is now available with the RTX 50 series. So they say starting today, but this was October 7th. As a part of the Arc Raiders GeForce bundle, you'll receive a deluxe copy of the game. Plus, you'll get some pre-order bonus cosmetics with the purchase of qualifying RTX 5090, 5080, 70 Ti, and 70 desktop GPUs. For laptops, that's the 5090, 5080, 5070 Ti, and 5070. Do keep in mind, though, that's at participating retailers, so do make sure that it says it is included with the bundle. They do showcase here that it is the deluxe bundle that you'll be getting, so of course, very, very cool there. And on top of that, and speaking of that, they did drop an Arc Raiders 4K DLSS 4 trailer, where they even do showcase the game without DLSS is pushing over 100 FPS. So pretty awesome to see there with native resolution. Obviously with multi-frame gen, they're showing over 400 FPS with it, although I'd still recommend staying on 2 times, which is plenty enough. And even I had around 200 FPS in the beta. But pretty awesome to see we are getting that day 1 support for Arc Raiders and DLSS 4. Now I know I also mentioned a few updates to the game here. This poster does point out that Embark did update their FAQ section. They do mention this first one that Arc Raiders will not have any pay-to-win features, that the only way to gain functionality and power will be through playing and leveling up your skill tree. They do talk about something here called the Raider deck, which is like a battle pass, and they do mention that at launch the Raider deck will be free, but you can expect a mix of paid and free Raider decks as new ones are added. They also do mention that stash size increases will cost coins only, that there is no premium currency there. And again, future battle passes may be paid, but they will be unlocked with Raider tokens, which can now be purchased only. However, in the future, you might be able to earn Raider tokens by playing. Essentially, that does resolve the trope of paid battle passes in a paid game question. Still pretty cool there, the initial battle pass is going to be free, and that's really awesome to see there. I do, at least it sounds like, believe that they also removed items from the battle pass, as it does say here that you can unlock cosmetic rewards, so I'm assuming there is no more items on those battle passes. I am really happy to see that as well. There's also 2 last things here. This first one's been pointed out by another Redditor who showed off the number of online players actually changed from 24 to 21 on the PS Store. There was the rumor a while back that there was between 18 and 30 players in that range for maps. So maybe they did end up decreasing it to 21, or it was always 21. We'll have to wait and see if they have any more clarification on that there, though. Do note, though, of course, players can spawn mid-raid, so there's going to be constantly players jumping in and out of that. One other last mention here is that Arc Raiders did drop its original video game soundtrack. I'll include the link tree to it where they have all the YouTube Music, Apple Music, Spotify, even still Tidal, didn't even know that one was still around, as well as a few other options here if you did want to snag that. Overall, it should be all covered for today's video, and if you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one, deuces.